Planet Magazine.
Also known as Wednesday 13.
Welcome to Brutal Planet Magazine.
Welcome to Brutal Planet Magazine.
Welcome to the video. Welcome to Brutal Planet Magazine.
You're listening to Brutal Planet.
Hey, what's up, everybody? CJ Pierce here from Drowning Pool, and you're listening to Brutal Planet Media right here. Get yourself.
Hey, I'm Steve from Within the Ruins, and this is Brutal Planet.
Greetings, Brutal Planet. We're live today with Mr. Ryan Knight from the Black Dahlia Murder. Ryan, thanks for taking the time today, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So full disclosure, Black Dahlia Murder, probably one of my favorite metal bands of the last 20 years. I know that you weren't in the band initially, but I'm curious, like, you know, you were in the band for a long time and then you kind of took a break and now you're back. What's the kind of rationale behind you coming back to the band full time?
Yeah, I mean, like, when I took a break, I didn't really want to leave, but like, I just felt like I needed to step out. My daughter at the time was like pretty little, and I was just kind of burnt out. A lot of touring in the van back then, many days, and I don't know, just kind of burnt out. So not really one reason, but anyway, it was a really hard decision to leave, but I eventually was just like, it's probably best that I do and just, you know, leave it up to fate whether I'm ever in the band again. And then, you know, here we are in 2022 and just, you know, everything that kind of transpired. I guess Brian, you know, after everything, Brian called me up about a month after Trevor passed away. It was just like, hey, do you want to, you know, we're thinking about, you know, I'll switch over to vocals if you want to come back on guitar. And I was just kind of in a good place to do it. My wife is from Michigan, where the band's from. We were living in Nashville, Tennessee at the time. I was doing IT at Vanderbilt University there, and
Oh, wow.
we were kind of considering moving to Michigan just because we have more family here and we're about to have a baby. And so when Brian called, you know, I was like, yeah, that actually sounds pretty good because we're already considering moving up there anyway. So here I am, live like 4 miles down the street from Brian now. So.
Well, fans were overjoyed to have you back in the band. So I'm curious about the writing process for this new record too. Did you guys kind of come together after Trevor passed away and start putting this material together? Or was it stuff you had kind of been working on before that? Or like, did you bring riffs to the table? Talk a little bit, I guess, about the writing process for this new record, Servitude.
Yeah. So yeah, basically when we decided it was time to do a new record, we kind of just function as we usually do, I would say, which is basically like before Brandon came in, like, you know, Brian would be like, okay, it's time to write a record. I'll write about half of it. And then I would write about half of it. And then when I left, he did the same thing with Brandon. He would write about half the record, Brandon would write half. So this time, you know, we did 9 songs. Brian was just like, I'll write 3. I wrote 3, Brandon wrote 3. And some of the songs, as for me personally, the song Mammoth's Hand, I kind of already had. I wrote it during like COVID. So I already kind of pretty much have that one all demoed out. And then I had to write the other 2 from scratch. I think Brian pretty much wrote everything from scratch. And I think Brandon may have had, I think the track Servitude, I want to say, was an old one that he had for a long time. I think it's a really old song, actually. And then I think we had to write the other 2 from scratch. So yeah, we had some stuff laying around and then other stuff we just had to write. Yeah.
So there's 9 songs and then intermission.
That's it.
That song Mammoth's Hand, I really like the riffing on that because it feels like you're doing some stuff that's out of character for Black Dahlia Murder a little bit.
Yeah, that song, like, I had a bunch of songs, and that was like the one of any of them that I thought, I was like, this is pretty different from the band. But I was like, I showed it to Brian. I was like, what do you think about this? I was like, it's pretty different to see if you, and he liked it. And he's like, yeah, let's use that. But yeah, it's definitely different, and it's probably like I could be wrong, but it may be literally the slowest song in our entire catalog.
I noticed that. I was watching you guys perform at the I think it was like what was it? It was like Arte Live, but it was
oh yeah, Summer Breeze.
That's Summer Breeze, yeah. And I was like, wow, that song seems pretty slow for Black Dahlia Murder. But there's a couple other songs on the album that are just like brutally intense and fast too, you know?
Yeah, yeah. You definitely get the the full range. But
Yeah.
yeah, that one's pretty slow. And it was just like, we don't really have any just slow headbangers. Well, we have some, but even they're faster than that. But so anyway, I guess we have our very slow headbanger song. So
Yeah, it gives the record some dynamics too, you know?
yeah.
Dryden, you wanted to ask Ryan, I think, about like some of the guitar stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious. You guys, I noticed normally it's like you're playing 6 strings, right?
Mm-hmm.
So normally you guys are like drop C around that area. Has that stayed the same? Or are you guys changing it up on different songs or same tuning the whole record?
No, it's so basically the history of Black Dahlia Murder guitar tuning is that the first record Unhallowed is in drop C, and then everything after that is all C standard tuning. So yeah, everything on the record C standard. I guess really, all C standard. The only and anything off like Unhallowed, we just kind of like transpose it to C standard. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's awesome.
What kind of gear do you use? Do you have? I mean, you probably have like signature guitar and stuff, but I'm kind of curious about what kind of rig and stuff you're using these days.
Me and Brandon are both using these EVH Iconic heads. They're cool. They're kind of like, I think they're like half tube, but kind of like half solid state. And we kind of went like that route just because there's less maintenance for them. Like we both love. I feel like we're one of the few bands out there. We both just love tube heads, but they require a lot of maintenance. So, but anyway, those Iconic heads require a little. They're pretty solid to take on the road, since they're not entirely like a legit, I guess, tube head. And then other than that, EVH cabs, and Brandon's got a couple signature guitar, or he has one, and I think he has another one maybe coming out here. And he's with Jackson. For me, I've been with PRS for 10 years now, and I just like all my guitars are just stock. I've modified them a little bit, but like I just have ones like right off the line for the most part. And then we have like various pedals we use, but nothing too crazy. We both have overdrive, noise gate, delay, reverb, and that's about it. We both use a JHS 3 series phaser.
Okay.
Pretty much it for the most part.
There's it seems like there's a lot of like people kind of switching to the Kempers and stuff. So it's cool to hear you guys are still using like amps and cabs.
Yeah, like I get it though. Because there's the Kemper. Yeah, right. Kemper, Axe-Fx, Quad Cortex, and honestly, man, like if we weren't like an already very established band and I was in a new band, I'd probably just get one of those things because it's less for you to carry and lug around in a van, and for us even, like sometimes like when you're playing a fly show, having one of those, one of the digital things is just easier because it's like you don't know what kind of gear you might wind up with, and that thing's going to sound the same. So while we are partial to tube amps, I don't blame anyone that does the digital thing nowadays.
It's like expecting DJs to still carry like all their vinyl around, when the technology is.
Yeah, I'm just gonna come up there and like hit the button on the Spotify or whatever it is.
Yeah,
but I know it's not that simple, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
I always make that analogy because people get hate for using the Kempers, the DJ stuff. I'm like, it's like saying like you're not making a real phone call unless you use a rotary phone or something. It's like the technology's evolved. So.
Yep.
So the record comes out September 27th. So you guys got a little bit. What are you doing on the build up to that? Are there more singles coming out? Are you guys doing any, big shows?
Well, we just got home from Europe about a week ago, and we went over there and we played, we did all the summer festivals. We actually went over there twice this summer. We were over there about 3 weeks between June and July. Then we came home for a month, and then we went back, and we were just over there for 3 weeks. So did all that. We mainly, for the most part, we did like we put out the 2 singles. There will be one more single, but I think it comes out the day the record comes out. So I guess technically it will be a single with a video, but it's going to be out the day the record drops. other than that, there'll probably just be just a bunch of Robbie, our social media guy. There'll be like a lot of like small promotional videos, probably a lot of humorous stuff that we've filmed here and there over the past few months and things of that nature. Yeah, we may do another like playthrough or something, but other than that, you know.
And then you guys have a big tour once the record comes out, right?
Yeah, we got a tour coming up with Dying Fetus and Angel Maker, Spite, Vomit Forth is on that as well. And I think it starts somewhere between October 3rd and 5th. I should probably know that, but I don't.
No, we'll be posting the dates for you guys, I'm sure. Dying Fetus Black Dahlia Murder tour is something
And
that
Spite too. I love Spite.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be cool, man. I think it'll be. We're hoping like for I hope it'll bring some like new people in too and everything. So it should be hopefully a pretty diverse crowd of people.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Brian's vocal work too. I mean, it's like for him to just kind of take that gauntlet and run with it. I mean, it sounds just like any Black Dahlia Murder record sounds for the most part. Obviously there's some new elements and stuff.
Yeah, it's like it's funny. Like I've listened since I've been living with the new record for so long. It's funny, like sometimes I'll have it on and I just get lost for a second. Like it blends with our sound so much that I'm almost like, oh, this is Brian, But yeah, man, his voice is. I've told people like his voice reminds me of like. I call it like he has that like shredded throat like Euro kind of style. It reminds me of like Thomas Lindbergh from At the Gates or like the guy around, or it's more like in that lower mid range sound, which I think works really well for us. And like Trevor's vocal range was like he went from super high to low and kind of really had his like own thing going with that. And I think Brian it's weird. Like no one's ever going to have the same sort of thing that Trevor did,
Sure.
It's like, I was just talking to somebody about this, but yeah, I think Brian, I think it's best for him to do like, yeah, just continuing on to do his own thing and come into his own. But yeah, I think it's served the van pretty well.
And you guys are doing backup vocals too, which kind of gives it that edge where it needs it.
Yeah, it's funny. Like there's a couple, like I forget what song it's on, but there is a song or two where I think me and Brandon each have like a one-liner, so it's just us, and it's always funny to hear that. Like, oh, that's what I sound like. but yeah, me and Brandon are doing the backups on the album and live now. So,
and one of the things both of us are guitar players is the melodies in the guitars. It's like the hooks are the guitar lines. I'll find myself singing guitar parts and going like, holy crap, that's so catchy.
Cool. Yeah. That's what we're hoping for, for sure. Yeah, we're always different. I mean, me personally, yeah, I'm always thinking about like some kind of catchy melody, hopefully and some kind of like, hopefully cool rhythm under it or something. So yeah.
Dryden, you got any?
Yeah, I was going to ask about the tracking process. So we read like you guys did a lot of the guitar tracking at Brandon's house, and I didn't see like, was there any? Did you guys do a lot of the production and mixing after that, or was it someone else that came in and kind of handled that?
Yeah, so basically, yeah, as far as all the guitars, bass, and vocals go, yeah, we went to Brandon's house. Brandon tracked, all the guitars, bass, and the vocals. At times, like me and Brandon were like literally, like he was sitting here at the control thing, I'll sit here, and we just pass the guitar back and forth, like play my part, hand it in, we play his part, and then afterward, what happened? Oh yeah, and then we did the leads. Brandon did all his leads at his house. I came here, I did the leads right here where I'm sitting now. And yeah, other than that, as far as the mixing and all that goes, yeah, we went to Nashville to Mark Lewis's place, and Mark mixed it all from his place. That's also where we did the drums at Mark's studio.
Okay.
And mastered it in Nashville too.
Awesome.
I like to ask people this, and you can go as deep as you want, but what are some of your influences? Kind of what inspired you to pick up a guitar and start doing the music thing?
I guess really the beginning was like one of my best friends, his older sister used to be my babysitter. And she was probably like, man, what year is this? I was probably like, this is like 91, 92. So I was probably like 8, 9 years old. And she was probably like 10 years. She's probably like 17, 18, almost senior in high school. And like, MTV, that was like the glory days of MTV, So I was seeing like all the stuff that was on. That was like, where hair metal was ending and Nirvana was about to just kill everything.
Mhm.
So like, I definitely was like seeing all those like Bon Jovi and Guns N' Roses, and then the Nirvana and Alice in Chains. And I really think that it was just all that, like being exposed to all that young really made me want to play. And then I started playing probably when I was 12. And then I was on a trip around 1999. I was on a trip and we turned on the TV. It was like me and two other of my friends that also play. And we turned on the TV and it was Eric Johnson on Austin City Limits. And I was like 16. And I was like, holy shit. Like that just blew me the fuck away. I was like, I gotta get serious right now. And then I remember like 6 months later, I think I discovered like Yngwie Malmsteen. And of course that took me down the whole like Shrapnel Records road. But yeah, and then from there, just all sorts of stuff. I like a lot of like country guys. I like jazz. It doesn't matter. I like a lot of stuff. But yeah, that's kind of like in a nutshell, kind of where it started, early MTV and all that stuff.
Eric Johnson is a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's there's been a couple other guys over the years that have had, there's like a good, I would say for me, like a big 3 or 4 that have had like just an absolutely profound. I don't think my playing is very much like Eric Johnson, but just seeing him and like like I had no clue you could do that on a guitar. Like seeing that for the first time,
Yeah.
I was like, fuck, man. And then obviously Yngwie, and then probably like around 2010, I discovered this dude Jimmy Herring that plays for Widespread Panic, but he's really more of like a jazz fusion player on his own. And that was like another one that really was just like huge for me, But anyway, yeah, just all sorts of stuff.
We talked to Joe from Within the Ruins a couple days ago, and we asked him like, what are some bands these days that you're kind of like listening to and whatever, and he name checked you guys, which I thought was super cool because it's rare that bands do that. But are there any bands that you're into right now, like new bands that you guys kind of on the scene that are kind of taking the torch? Because you guys really, I mean, are the 2000s. We were talking the other day too about how the 2000s is kind of an underrated decade for metal, like bands like Black Dahlia Murder and Lamb of God and Norma Jean and stuff like that. But are there any bands currently that you would shout out or that you're really digging what they're doing?
Yeah, like I would say that I really like Gojira, and it's funny, like I only kind of like this. Well, even when I was in the band, I remember we would play a lot of like festivals. Like we would be like getting off the stage and they'd be right after us, and we just see them along the way, but I never checked them out. And I knew that like a lot of people liked them. This is like around 2009, 10, 11, sometime in there. But I really didn't check them out until like probably like after I was out of the band, around 2018 maybe or something. It's like, man, and I don't know the name. I don't know the name of the record, but it's got that song like Magma on it. And
it's got, I know what you're talking about. It has Silvera and all that.
Yes, that record, yeah. Because I had not heard that record. I was like, man, this is cool because it's got kind of like these like almost like proggy elements to it a little bit. And then I kind of went back. I was like, yeah, this is cool. So like Gojira is kind of like, even though they've been around a while, like newer to me. I kind of like, even though like I haven't really listened to the catalog, but I kind of like the new, not necessarily new, but I like the whole like throwback death metal thing that's kind of going on, like Undeath and like Gatecreeper and like Frozen Soul. I kind of like, we've toured with Frozen Soul like last year in the States, and I really like that whole thing. I like that like the production's not like, I'm glad that we've maybe are starting to get away from this like super processed fake production. And I just like that it's got like a bit of rock and roll in it and stuff. And I like those bands. I think that's cool.
Have you heard that band As in Hell? It's It's the guy from Volbeat's kind of death metal spinoff.
No.
They're killer, but their drummer said almost what you said about the state of things, because they recorded everything just raw.
Right.
And we have that conversation a lot, because the technology thing is great, but also sometimes you kind of lose that rawness, and I totally hear what you're saying about that. It's like everything's so perfect on that grid, it just sounds.
Yeah. Like I think like, and I'm not knocking any bands that sound like that. I just think like, and a lot of this stuff, like when Necrophagus put out Epitaph in 2004, and I love that record. I absolutely love it. And I think like the production on that is like exactly what that record needs. And there's certain bands that I like that have that production too, and I think it fits them well. But I think like we went from this period from like 2004 up until like very recently where it just got like out of hand though. Where it's just like, man, and I like the sound of a good production. Like, don't get me wrong. But like sometimes like I go back and like listen to something that has that sort of in it. I don't know. Sometimes I think for me at least it like deters like the timelessness of it. Like it just sounds too, I don't know. It just sounds like too like plastic to me.
It lacks its own like style, I feel like, because a lot of it sounds the same. Like it doesn't really have its own uniqueness to it.
Yeah. So anyway, just my 2 cents. But yeah. There's like a lot of great bands out there now though. But those are kind of like the ones that I've like kind of checked out. Definitely sort of the most.
Thank you for that, Dryden. Do you got any other questions?
That was about it for me. I was interested in the guitar.
So let's see. We got some questions in the comments here. This person asks, did Brian record any guitar parts for the new album?
That's a good question. So originally when we set out to make this record, we were just like, yeah, we'll have Brian, whatever songs he writes, he'll track them, because that's usually the way it works. But Brian kind of made the decision. He's like, no, he's like, if I'm not going to be, he's like, if I'm taking over vocals, like, he's like, I'd rather just have you and Brandon do it. So me and Brandon, essentially, we track Brian's songs. And of course, Brian would like be there in the background if we needed to ask him a question or something like, is this how you want it played? Or do you want it more muted? Or, whatever it may be. But like, so yeah, me and Brandon basically tracked everything. The only other thing to make of note, I guess, about that is, like, there was a time, I remember like right when I came into the band in Deflorate, me and Brian would always track our own parts, right? So it's like, even if it was Brian's songs or my songs, Brian would play his parts, his designated parts, and I would play my own designated parts. And I think around Ritual, we kind of quit doing that for a bit because it just was quicker to track. And then I think even in the Brandon era, like on Nightbringers and Verminous, I think Brian still tracked all his own songs, and I think Brandon tracked his own songs. But now we have gone back to, like, I played all my parts on the record, Brandon played all his parts on the record. And I think the reason for that is we just it just sounds good to have like the two, you get like some space with it, having like two different guys play a little bit. And then we even went as far as to like even all 95% of any harmonized leads on there are actually me and Brandon. So like on Servitude, like those little chorus parts, that's Brandon playing and that's me playing harmonized. Like, so we took it pretty far as it's painstaking work, but we did that.
I noticed you guys playing the dual leads too when I watched that Summer Breeze performance, which is incredible.
So yeah, I mean it's a lot of work to put in, but at the end of the day, I think it just makes for better.
So we're coming up on a half hour. I'm sure you got other stuff to do, so we don't want to keep you too past your time. But what do you see for the future? Like, does the band, like, is just this the start of a new era? Are you guys going to continue putting out records and touring, or is this maybe like kind of a one-off thing?
No, this is definitely the start of a new era. And basically, we'll do this record, we'll do then the touring cycle, and then in the next records, I feel like we have like a thing, since Brian's kind of taken on his new role. You're going to see him like develop, of course, just the way people saw Trevor develop over albums. And then now that we kind of have this like 2 lead guitar thing that we have that the band's kind of never had, there's basically what I'm getting to, we have like some new things I feel like to explore, and I feel like a lot of these things, you know, well, we've obviously started on this new record, but like it's going to take another record or two for us to sort of probably really evolve these until like, you know, till you
Yeah.
see further what we can sort of do with this. So yeah, I think a lot of things to look forward to.
Well, the new record's fantastic, man. Like I said, I feel like it's a little bit more dynamic, but it also, to your point, kind of has more of the feel. Maybe it's the production of the older stuff a little bit. It's not too polished, like it's pretty raw stuff.
Yeah. We definitely did not shrink everything to the grid. Yeah, we tried to leave some of it raw, and maybe something that's, you know, special about this record is that if I didn't say this already, it's like, yeah, it's like the first record where you're kind of seeing the full spectrum, you know, of everyone that's written songs for Black Dahlia. Now you have it all in one record, which has kind of never happened. So yeah, it's I would say it's pretty diverse record.
Awesome. Do you got any other questions, Dryden, or anything?
No,
Not that I can think of.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Well, Ryan, thank you so much, man, for taking the time. Like I said, it's an honor to have you here. Black Dahlia Murder has been one of my favorite bands for a very long time, and I'm so happy that you guys are continuing into this new era.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. And the record comes out, everybody, September 27th. Ryan, please come back and talk to us again when you have time, man, when you guys got new announcements.
Yeah, anytime. I'm available. Whenever I'm available, I'll do it. So
yeah. Appreciate it, man. Well, I hope to see you guys out on the road. And again, everyone, September 27th, the new record is out. It's called Servitude. It's exactly what you would want from a Black Dahlia Murder record. So
hell yeah, pick it up, check it out. If you don't pick it up, at least Spotify it, whatever you do, YouTube it, I don't know.
Consume it. I don't think you'll have any problems, man. There is a hunger for material like this, and you know, people are going to eat it up.
Cool. All right. Well,
thanks again, man. Everybody, keep it brutal. The record's
right,
September 27th. Servitude. Take care.
Take care.
See you next time.